Peace. Welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, folks. It is Friday, April the 26th. This is the last hurrah for The Culture right now, folks. Woo! We got a great show for you. Still lined up. Let's talk about USC, how they have made the announcement to cancel their main stage graduation because of their concerns about safety amid protests on college campuses. We're going to talk more about that. Also, Moorehouse, one of our great HBCUs that has invited President Biden, but now there are some folks who are saying that they may not be supportive of the effort. So we're asking the question, should Moorehouse protest the Biden visit? We're going to have that conversation later on. Let's talk about black media. Let's talk about Amanda Seales and how she came back to defend herself on Club Station with Shannon Sharp and talking about black media. But I want to share with you a clip that she had to say. And of course, we want to get some very important conversations around that. And later, folks, we close the show out. Final thoughts for the culture. We're going to give them to you. So stay with us. I'm joined by a dynamic panel of folks. We got Suzette Speaks. We got Corinna Denise, we got Kimberly Morrow, and we're going to be joined by Neil Muhammad. Stay with me. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture, right here, only here, right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation and getting ready to join us. There we go. Oh, man, I'm really excited because I have so many, we got a lot of emotions going on. But more importantly, we got some fantastic voices that are joining us. And I could not be happier with the voices we got joining us as we close out the culture today. But big shout out to all of you, the online culture crew, for joining us as always, man. Y'all have been riding with us. Been for over 2 years. It's like almost like 2 years and 5 months or some change. We started on 2122. I wanted to say it just like that, y'all, because I'm from Baltimore. 2122. February 1st, 2022, and we wanted to have a conversation, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as we close out. But today, we want you first to check us out on as we're streaming on various platforms. First, let's talk about, our personal platform of Black Star Network. Go to our website today, download the app for free, follow us on social media, and you can do this. You can show your support, show your love for the culture, for Roland Martin and Filter, for any of the shows. You can just go to our website and see all of the past shows and all of the great things, the great conversations that Big Brother Roland Martin has been having with Roland and everything on our website at blackstarnetwork.com. But make sure you throw something in the pot. Look, even though this particular show might be coming to an end, doesn't mean that your support should end. So we need digital space. We need black media in digital spaces. And I can't emphasize this enough, folks, that this is still a platform that is geared toward us, and your support makes all the difference in the world. It is imperative that we don't get caught up in personalities, but we get caught up in what? The progress, the movement, something that's bigger and better than ourselves as individuals. So your support to sustain this platform, to sustain this network is everything. So just go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, make sure y'all check us out as we're streaming live on Big Brother Roland Martin social media pages. Make sure you go to our YouTube page with Brother Roland Martin. That's where all the conversations are happening, as well as on our Facebook page under Roland Martin. Conversations are happening there, and on the X platform, all is happening there. Man, oh man. All right, let me go to the crew. The crew is joining us. Man, we got a fantastic lineup right here. A great, strong panel of sisters that's talking to us today. So we're going to be joined by my sister, Suzette Speaks, who is a licensed attorney out of the state of Florida. Suzette has always been bringing it She was on the radio earlier today. I was watching her on her live on Facebook, so she was joining us. Great job there, Suzette. We're also joined by my sister, Kimberly Morrow, who is a parent, advocate, and an educator, and she is the founder of the Doris L. Morrow Online Academy. So, Kim, thank you once again for joining us. And, of course, my sister, Corinna Denise, who is a college admissions advisor, as well as an activist, a politico down in Florida, as well as New York, as well as the United States of America. My sister, Corinna Denise, great culture crew member. And we're going to be joined in a little bit with Nira Muhammad, host of the I Call Her Queen podcast. So she'll be joining us as well later on in the show. All right, let's talk a little bit, ladies, about first, welcome. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I could not have asked for a better group. Y'all are just...
I'm signing off to the people in the chat. That's why I'm looking down. I'm looking at my phone, trying to say hello to everybody. Farajii.
Look at it. Don't do this, Suzette. I told you. Do not do this, Suzette.
No, we got a show to do. Let's go.
We do have a show to do. All right, let's do it. Look, first, let's take a quick pause. We got to still pay the bills. Take a quick pause when we come back. Let's talk about USC. Let's talk about Moorehouse. Let's talk about college campuses and protests happening. Are these protests going to interrupt these commencement addresses that are scheduled to happen all around the country? Join us in the conversation, crew. Love to hear what you have to say. But of course, we're going to hear from Corinna. We're going to hear from Kim, and we're going to hear from Suzette. But I want to hear from you. Stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We're kicking off the conversation talking about the big discussion, how University of Southern California, USC, has announced that they are canceling graduation, their main stage graduation, over protests. Take a look at this. This is the latest from NBC News. That USC, where students began protesting after a Muslim student by the name of Asna Tabassum's valedictorian speech was canceled, because of unspecified security threats, announced it was canceling its main commencement ceremony yesterday, as protests on college campuses have ramped up in recent days, leading to hundreds of arrests of students and non-students there and at Columbia, where the first tent encampment appeared on April 17th. Take a look at this quote coming from USC officials, folks. As for the commencement, USC officials said yesterday that they understood the decision was disappointing, but they would add new activities and celebrations to make this commencement academically meaningful, memorable, and uniquely USC. All right, let me go to the panel here, joined by Suzette Speaks, Corinna Denise, as well as Kimberly Morrow. Kim, let's talk at it because this is right here in our hometown of Los Angeles. So Kim, what's your take on this? How they decided to cancel this main stage grad commencement ceremony? 65,000 undergrads from USC is supposed to walk across the stage. That's not going to happen. They canceled the valedictorian speech because the speaker is pro-Palestinian. That's not going to happen. So what do you do, especially when you have young people who had already gone through disruptions due to COVID in 2020 and 2021 and all of that when they were in that time, and now they got this major disruption here. What do families, what do students do? How do they handle it?
It, it's first of all, why are they canceling the main stage graduation? And the fact that they actually canceled this young lady's valedictorian speech because they said it was because they didn't feel like it would be safe. You know, the bottom line is, if the message is not supporting Israel, nobody wants to hear anything else, which I'm not against supporting Israel, but when people seem to be speaking up for Palestine, for the people that are the casualties of war or being murdered by this war, it's as though their voices don't count. And so let's just stop that at any cost. So your question, what should be done? Honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I don't believe it was because of safety. I do believe it was to silence that young lady. Again, that's my opinion. And as I was reading why they decided not to allow her to give her speech, that was my takeaway from it.
That's a big takeaway. Suzette, this is the first major school to make this announcement. Now, folks at Columbia University and other big schools are now, so like some of the students and faculty are a little concerned that this might create a domino effect where their graduation, their commencement addresses will be canceled. What do you make of it?
Yeah, this is earth-shaking. I mean, this is the commencement at a California landmark school. Yeah. And it is now kind of a door opening move for other universities to consider the same. Imagine this. Imagine the message that's being sent, because universities, as we know, are supposed to be the last bastions of free speech. We want to encourage, or at least that is in theory what they're designed to do, where young people gather to learn about themselves, the humanities, and politics, and in a wonderfully, hopefully safe environment. But now that we see this topic specifically, as controversial as it has been, at the fore, where now students are gathering overnight in sustained encampments, where, you know, I think there are outside infiltrators in some of the university spaces that are not just students, but others that we've seen all over. From down here in Florida, there have been schools with encampments to Columbia, across the country. We've seen this as a growing movement. I was just reading this morning that we've even seen universities as far as Australia now, students on their lawns, on their kind of green spaces, making a stand for Palestine. So it is very disheartening. I think the police being called when students are peaceful, and that's going to be the kind of the linchpin. The university is going to say there's a safety risk, and of course an issue that they must address. I don't know. Again, they haven't given us much information about what other possible threats they've heard, but it's the excuse again for all these students who have worked very hard towards their degrees, specifically the valedictorian, to have their moment, and it will be, you know, robbed of them. So I don't think it's the same. It's not fair to have some kind of virtual or alternate kind of celebration. People work hard for their degrees. Their families want to celebrate with them. But this issue has become such a lightning rod that universities have been kind of caught up in how to truly deal with the free speech component. Again, universities are supposed to be places where a free flow of ideas should be readily protected. However, this particular stance is not necessarily one that maybe some would argue that leadership at our college campuses wants to see promoted. And it's just been very disheartening, again, for police to be called on students who are peacefully protesting. It just is reminiscent of what happened during the civil rights movement and anti-war movements of the past.
Absolutely. McCole Spicer checked in, one of our great culture crew members. McCole, you said this is not fair to the students who have worked so hard to get their degrees, and their family and friends will not be able to see their graduate walk and get their degrees. It is very sad. And Corinna, that's my take. Do you think there was even real consideration about the fact? I mean, like I said, there are 65,000 undergrads that were supposed to walk across that stage, and it is not going to happen. As a college admissions advisor, what do you tell students? What do you say? Because the politics of this school is rooted in some sense of fear. Can we just say that? that some of these schools are just afraid, and going back to what Suzette and Kim said, this is about allowing students to have the free expression to say things. And if you can't say that on a college campus at a young age, then I don't know how hopeful students will be going into schools, going into colleges, especially in the fall. What's your take?
Yeah, I definitely echo the sentiments of everyone. It's messed up. It is very, very messed up. It's heartbreaking. And, you know, to Nicole Spicer's point, you know, these students have worked very, very hard, and it's definitely a middle finger to the face to them and their families. And, you know, it's so unfortunate. And I don't think they had absolutely any consideration, Farajii. I know you raised that question. I think there was zero consideration of the students, of their families. You know, let's even evaluate the time of year. Plane tickets have been purchased. Regalia has been purchased, which thousands of dollars. So what's going to be the compensation for these students and families for the money that they've spent, right? And not only that, just their mental compensation and the extreme disappointment. And I think this may just be a domino effect where we're going to see this happening. And I could imagine other students are concerned, as well as their families, like, are we next? Is our commencement going to be canceled? And it's just so unfortunate. And yes, I think they wanted to silence that young lady and anyone else who would be standing behind her to support her. So it's really unfortunate, and it's really, really sad. It speaks to, you know, a larger issue of what's happening here internally, and to the point that both of Kimberly and Suzette were making is, you know, silencing the voices of these students. And let's be clear on something else too. This isn't free education, you know, so I spent time and effort and money, and that's not to negate any other, you know, free public education, but these students, you know, it costs to be there. It costs time, there's money, finances, and everything to consider, and to think that you've worked so hard, you know, and how do you even focus on just tying up loose ends to even get that degree conferral? You know, I could imagine students struggling with anxiety and upset and worry. How are you going to get through final exams? You know, so I would imagine there are going to be some other factors that are definitely going to affect students because of the trajectory that USC and I would imagine other colleges are probably going to follow. And it's heartbreaking, and it's just sad. And it's
man, I hope not. I hope not.
Farajii,
yes, ma'am.
For clarification, it's just the main stage graduation that's been canceled. So a school like USC, they're going to have the individual schools will have their own graduation.
Right.
So the School of Communications, so each school will have their own specific graduation. So families will still be able to come and participate. It's just that main stage graduation where they would have the keynote speaker, they would have the valedictorian give a speech. That part of the graduation has been canceled.
I mean, this may not be as bad. The keynote speaker was the gentleman that made the movie Crazy Rich Asians, because he's a filmmaker. So he was going to be the keynote speaker for the USC graduation. But it's still, I mean, I get it.
It's the valedictorian. Right. It's the valedictorian. That was her moment.
That was her moment.
To shine.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The fact that her opinion, her position did not line up with what is supposed to be politically correct at this time. And so she's not allowed to speak. That's the part where we're concerned about. It's as though freedom of speech only exists if your speech lines up with what is politically correct in this particular climate that we're living in.
Or the politics of the institution. We got to take a quick pause, but that's one of the things that I want us to talk about, because let's bring Moorehouse into it. One of our great HBCUs, Moorehouse actually invited President Biden to speak at their commencement. He accepted the invitation. Now people are saying, maybe we shouldn't have done that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that story and a whole lot more. Crew, I want you to join us in the conversation as we are streaming right now on Big Brother Roland Martin's YouTube page, his Facebook page, and on the X platform. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users, is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Game on. State of the Union 2024. Huge night for President Joe Biden.
This was a CBS receipts type of night.
He dragged the hell out of the Supreme Court. And he said, y'all gonna see the power of women.
Trump's brain is melting as we speak.
We want to organize from a place of strength.
There's no confusion whatsoever about what they've done and what they plan to do.
What Donald Trump is doing is presenting a fallacy.
He is convincing them that he's all in it for them, when in fact he's all in it for himself.
We do not feel Joe Biden, in spite of the success that have taken place during this administration economically. There are too many things where we do not feel like he's had our back.
You should also be investing in the barbershops and the beauty salons and the hookah bars and the folks who are going to the club, and there's a way to actually get them registered because we've done it before. But if you don't have folks who understand that dynamic, then you're missing a big opportunity.
So we said we just celebrated. For what? Why don't you go to Selma to celebrate rather than recommit yourself to the fight if the very thing we went to celebrate has been gutted?
Republicans did not support a lot of the bills that were necessary to keep the country fluid. You can't only love your country when you win, right?
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut?
This was absolutely the knockdown, drag out that we were really waiting.
Black voters are the base. They're the most important base of the Democratic Party. There was very few language in this speech. At the time, we see an attack on Black history, attack on DEI. The end of the BLM racial reckoning thing has come to a complete end because there was nothing in this speech for that.
Our movement has never been grounded in two-party politics in this country. All of our movements ultimately get co-opted by a state that is anti-Black.
They called the old because they knew the way, and they called the young because they were strong. And I believe there is a good combination of that, but we can have ideas and we can have visions and dreams, but we have to have our young people also working beside us because they are strong, and they will run that race, and they will run it to the end.
Activists, organizers, and young people have been pushing this administration to be on the right side of history and to do something about the issues that they care about.
While the Ukraine and Palestine are critical issues, they are not the only global issues.
Not a single Black person who should ever let it come out their mouth that I'm tired. Because there is somebody else who came before us who didn't stop fighting.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm joined by some dynamic voices, y'all. Y'all hear these voices over and over again, but they always bring the heat. A lot of insight, great analysis. Joined by my sisters, Kimberly Morrow, who serves as the founder of the Dorsell Morrow Online Academy. My sister, Corinna Denise, who's a college admissions advisor, and Suzette Speaks, who is the host of the Suzette Speaks show on YouTube. She's a licensed attorney in the state of Florida, and she is a radio show host as well as a Politico. So doing a lot of great things. But we're talking about the fact that their graduations are up in the air, considering all of these latest rounds of protests that students have been organizing to show their disapproval of President Biden's stance on the war in Israel and Gaza, between Israel and Gaza. And it is something that has disrupted the graduation season. As we're getting to that point, USC has officially announced that they have canceled their main stage commencement. However, if you listen to Kim said, you know, their school commencement will still move forward. But some people are not happy of just having a consolation prize. They want it to be on that main stage. Well, let's take a listen here then. The other school outside of USC and Columbia is one of our own HBCUs, Moorehouse. Now they're at a crossroads, rather, because now they have invited President Joe Biden to be their commencement address speaker. He has accepted the invitation, but now, because of Israel-Gaza conflict, the president, the folks at the school, some of the folks at the school don't want the president to show up. That they are saying, some students are saying, we won't be at the graduation if President Biden is standing there talking to us because of America's stance. Corinna, I'm gonna start this one off with you. What should Moorehouse protest Biden's visit? Because I'm like Pastor Jamal Bryant said, it's a critical issue, but it's not the only issue. But I'm happy that young people are standing up for something. But is this, like, how do you think this thing is going to play out for a school like Moorehouse that needs that institutional support from the government and from other places?
It's such a tough question, right? I never want to say what they should do as far as a protest, Farajii, because I think, that would negate the whole freedom of speech thing and the freedom that college students should have on a campus to express themselves and express their voices. So while I understand there may be some folks who decide, I'm just going to sit this one out, I'm not going to walk or participate, I can't imagine that everyone feels that way. I'm sure there's some mixed feelings. There's some people who are, cemented in how they feel about it. So I'm ambivalent, to be quite honest. But, it's unfortunate that what's happening is, overshadowing all of the other good things that have happened. We're in the middle of an election year. It's just so much. And it's like, at the end of the day, are these students even going to actually be able to enjoy their commencement ceremony and taking the moment and listen to the speakers and have that knowledge to go off into the world and be productive, which is what is expected of you, once you complete your college studies. So, I think there's some go-between here. But I would say, I would hope that they would allow the president to speak and see what he has to say. And, I wouldn't necessarily encourage it per se, but that's an opportunity to be face to face with our leader, our commander in chief, to hear what he has to say as far as what's going on. And who's to say, maybe he's finding it as an opportunity to maybe address it. I don't know, considering who Joe Biden is, I don't know how likely that could happen, but that's just an idea. But there's just so much in the mix here, so many feelings, so many emotions, but I don't know if it's the right thing to necessarily say, let's stop the president from speaking. But I will say one more thing. What we see what's happening at USC and them, basically remixing commencement, if we want to just say, I think they're scared and they see the power of young people, particularly organizing, mobilizing to protest in solidarity for a cause that they wholeheartedly believe in. And I hope that our young people will move with that same mobilization and organization to the ballot box come November, because that is so important. And if you see that they are ready to, rearrange what graduation looks like because of supposedly some threat or what they think the outcome would be, they are scared of your power. And we have to remember that, and also remember to leverage our power accordingly in other spaces, in protest and solidarity, but also to that ballot box. Because if we did, imagine they'd be moving with a quickness to satisfy us with all of our demands. So
Absolutely. Hey, Suzette, I want to, let me throw some quotes out there, because Suzette, I'm wondering, because does Moorehouse, did they have the liberty to push away a major speaker like President Biden? Do they have the liberty to be in this fight, right? Because of where HBCUs currently are financially and in other, needing resources. Do they have the liberty to say this, even though, and let's put up quote number 2, please, Lise. When Moorehouse professor Andrew Douglas said, students and faculty are, quote unquote, wrestling with whether or how to protest next month's commencement. He said, I've spoken with several faculty members who say under no conditions are they going to sit on a stage with Joe Biden. Professor Douglas said, it's on everybody's mind. Now, he's a political science professor in his 13th year at Moorehouse. He's also a member of the school's faculty council, the 15-member body that wrote a letter to the school's president last week expressing disappointment upon hearing rumors that Biden had been invited to speak. Suzette, make it make sense for us.
Let's think about this, because there's the politics of the student body, right? The attendees of the school. There's the politics of the faculty, which may actually be distinct from the policies of the leadership in terms of administration at the university and the institution as a whole. So you have different factions that might actually have different ways of looking at this issue. So from, as you just read, the faculty point of view, I can see their points of views when it comes to not wanting to be props on a stage during an election year. I hear that loud and clear. Right. I can see the institutions, the administrative leadership's position in terms of what will the optics and the media look like if he comes down, there's lots of protests, they have the same things that are going on other campuses happen where it becomes violent, et cetera, and there's a lot in the American psyche about what an HBCU is or isn't. So I can see that playing out in terms of how they are considering this on the chessboard. I can hear the students also from the perspective of we're passionate about this one issue and that we want to make our voices heard by not inviting him. However, I would caution, going back to what we just saw at USC, where basically you're seeing a valedictorian being silenced. This is supposed to be a space of open dialogue and exchange of ideas. The leader of the free world is hopefully one of the main people you want to be face-to-face with so that they can hear you and they can see you. Not inviting him is not the only way to protest this. I'm not going to tell grown men at Moorehouse what to do. Right. I'm just saying I'm offering a very different perspective as to what it can look like to get a message across. I also would caution our brothers to not necessarily be single issue people. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of concern here domestically, issues across the board. And yes, during an election year, you want to not be taken for granted as the block and the base of one party or another. However, we have to deal with the system. I think it was my sister Angela Rice said, we have to deal with the system we have currently, not the system we wish we had. Mm-hmm. So we know what the alternative universe really will look like. You might be mad with this current administration, but if the alternative universe, if the other now one of two selections that we have, again, maybe not what we want, but it's the reality, is the victor come November, our lives are going to be so traumatically different that we really have to play the long game and not the short game. So from a free speech perspective, I don't necessarily agree with not or uninviting someone who you've invited, particularly this specific human being, the leader of the free world. I think that to me sets a horrible precedent. But again, I understand that there are different perspectives that are looking at this from the student body wanting to make a stand on behalf of Palestine. I applaud their passion for wanting to say, no, we are going to hold the line for this issue. But we have to become, as a community, in my opinion, multi-issue voters. And again, looking at the long game, because our counterparts are definitely not hung up on one commencement, one day, and one moment. But again, for the dialogue that could happen, maybe have a meeting prior to this, maybe have a one-on-one with students. Maybe there is silent protest during the graduation. There's a ton of ways to make yourselves heard. I'm not sure if I think uninviting him would probably be the best of all the possible options.
That's a good point. You made some salient points there, making some great points. Look, we got to take another quick pause when we come forward. Let's continue the conversation talking about Moorehouse. Should they protest President Biden's visit? Some faculty members and students say yes. Others are saying no. What's your take, crew? Post your comments as we are streaming live on Big Brother Roland Martin's YouTube channel, as well as his Facebook page, as well as on the X platform. And stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
I need you to scream for your new beginning. 5, 4, 3, 2. I need you to shout for it. I need you to shout for it. It won't always be like this. Sooner Welcome to the greatest season of your life. Hug somebody. Welcome.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sisters, Corinna Denise, Kimberly Morrow, and Suzette Speaks, as we talk about should Moorehouse, one of our great HBCUs, rescind their invitation or protest President Biden's visit to give the commencement address at Moorehouse College. And people are saying yes, some people are saying no. You heard what our wonderful panel is saying, that this may not be politically in the best interest of what's going on right now, even though this moment, and I love the way you said it, Suzette, this is a moment, this is a day. You got to play the long game. And that's the thing about politics. Politics is all about playing that long game. All right, let me hear.
Wait, Farajii.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
I didn't get to weigh in on this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah,
Kim,
you're
like,
supposed to get back to me.
It's Friday, y'all. Don't forget.
All right.
Please follow me, Kimberly.
My voice. All right. So here's where I wanted to point out. First of all, I think that it is fitting that they had this thought at all. First of all, remember, Moorehouse is where Martin Luther King Jr. graduated. And if everybody recalls history, Martin Luther King Jr. during the time of Vietnam was against the Vietnam War, spoke out against it, but at the same time was seeking certain things from that particular presidential administration. You know, the civil rights movement was going on, the voting rights movement was going on. And so while he was still needing something from President Johnson, at the same time, he was still protesting the Vietnam War. So the fact that these students even thought of that, I feel like that's a tribute to—
That's a great point.
To Martin Luther King Jr., who was a graduate of Moorehouse. So the fact that they even thought of that, I'm impressed. I'm actually impressed that they even came up with that idea.
And look, I'm not upset that the students protesting, because I feel like if a student is opening up, their consciousness is being elevated, you know what I'm saying, Corinna? And so Suzette, like if they're getting excited about something that a lot of adults don't even know about or don't even want to talk about, and these students are putting themselves, their freedom on the line for a cause, then we're off to a good start. I think a lot of the concern is making sure that their disruption is working towards something else. Like, what's the end goal of the disruption? Corinna, talk to me.
Yeah, you literally like took the words out of my head. Like, is this gonna actually achieve the objective, right? Like, because let's be honest, like, even if you were to sit out or protest or not attend your commencement ceremony, Moorehouse, you know, and I agree, I don't think we should rescind President Biden's offer. I'm in disagreement with that. I was speaking earlier more so about the actual protest. But let's say you guys did protest. Is that actually going to force his hand, you know, to do a ceasefire? So we have to think, is this actually going to yield tangible results that we want? And to Suzette's point, we have to stay in it for the long game. You know, it's a game of chess. Like, there are going to be some things we can live with, some things we can't live with. That doesn't make it right. It doesn't justify it. But it's like we kind of have to eat humble pie, per se, for lack of a better word. And I know that could be really hard to do. for the long haul, because we are in an election year and we are very much on the precipice of danger if Republicans get reelected to the Oval Office, to the Senate, and to the House in those majorities. And I will say one thing. I think a lot of times, President Biden unfortunately just takes all the hits. And in my view, I think that speaks largely to our collective civic ignorance. And I hope college students understand who else is at play here. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was just at, I believe, Columbia University earlier this week, and he got some booze. So there's some other college students who are conscious considering the things that are happening in the House, and particularly what's happening with this war abroad. So we want to make sure, yes, the president, he is the leader, but there are also other leaders who are contributing to what is happening, and they need to be held accountable publicly just as much as the president is, if that is the step that we're going to take. But we also have to remember we are in an election year. And even though, we want to do something consciously that we think would solidify, but is this really going to force President Biden's hand? So I think it's just taking a step back and reevaluating the tactics to get what we actually want.
Hey, Suzette, Lana said, I would disagree, y'all. We've been playing the long game for 450 years. Boycott. Why can Arabs do it, but we can't? Boycott. We are not in servitude anymore. What do you say to those who have the same sentiment as Lana and who are saying, look, we played this game. We need to disrupt at this point. What's your take on that?
Disrupt in a way that is productive is, to me, a little bit more kind of a solid position to take, because, again, if we're looking at the trend in the country where we see Republican-led states who are led by Republican governors and Republican state legislatures, the outcomes for Black people are not good. They reject Medicare funding. They reject extension of Obamacare. They reject things that help Black lives. So when we talk about servitude to me, to who, again, we are functioning in an imperfect system. I don't necessarily like it either. But to me, the biggest danger of this is this possibly, if Moorehouse does this, signals to other Black folk who may be a little less informed that this is something that we want to sit out in November. And again, as much as I want to see more movement domestically on behalf of Black-centered issues, not necessarily just this one issue. That's what I'm saying. We want to speak up, and I'm grateful that the passion around this has spread, and we are seeing engagement among maybe folks who are not necessarily like that 18 to 25, always engaged in the political system. So I'm grateful, like Farajii said, that they seem like this is something that the hill that they want to die on. But there are other hills. Like there are other, the sun still rises tomorrow. And what do you have as a message, both to our community and to like the Biden administration that has fully been supportive of HBCUs and been funding HBCUs at the highest levels of any president, but we'll ignore all the rest of the issues. Again, I don't know how we kind of teach that politics and it's just multi-layered. You're not going to have the perfect candidate. You're not going to have people that you agree with on everything, but we still must build coalitions. That's how people hold their nose and vote and still get what they need out of that candidate. You're not going to have a beer with President Biden. You're not going to pull up and go hang out with him, but you got to look at what has he been doing for our community. And there are pages on the whitehouse.gov page that show you the Black agenda. You'll have the media and the social media zeitgeist telling you, oh, he hasn't done anything. You have to do your research. So I'm just saying the signaling that it will possibly have in terms of Black folks, this is not our guy. Then who's our guy? Who are we going to support in November? This is what's serious. There's a tomorrow after this commencement. So again, I think there are ways to protest at this commencement if he was allowed to continue to have his invitation. I'm not a fan of uninviting people, but that's not my call to make. And again, people can differ with that opinion. But there can be a row of people as the motorcade drive by with signs. There could be a silent turn your back. There's a lot of ways to make a message heard. But I'm just like, this sit down and like you don't run us. Somebody's gonna run you because somebody's gonna win an election. The wheels of politics continue to turn. So if this is not your team, who's your team? Because whoever gets elected is gonna push their agenda. That's why it's called politics.
Wow, there it is. Verdell Newsom checked in from the chat. She said she's in agreement with you there. Suzette. She makes the point that she said Suzette was right. If the alternative is worse than who you are protesting now, you need to think of how to protest without losing sight of the ultimate goal.
Right. Make your voice heard. I do believe they should make their voice heard. But again, you got to bet on a horse. There's only 2 horses. We don't like that, but that's the system that we have.
Absolutely.
Is Biden-Harris or dictatorship? That's where we are. And thank you, Suzette, because you said it so eloquently, everything I was thinking. We gotta come up with other ways to do the thing. So, back to Lana, no more servitude. But at the end of the day, when we're in a dictatorship state, we're gonna be in real servitude because we pretty much are in slavery without the shackles right now. Who's to say? They have been so extreme. We don't know what else is coming down the line. And that Project 2025, they have
exactly.
shown us.
Read Project 2025.
Understand that this is not
That's the Republican project for what they want the country to look like. They planning for the long game. We sleep. We are actually, it's pretty scary, actually. Sorry, I know we got to take a break.
Yeah, and we go. Hey, I'm loving it. We got to have the conversation. Hey, look, Tiana said that we have more pressing issues on the agenda, like losing voting rights. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
But here's the thing, very quickly. I know that we got to take this pause, but here's the thing. If the president is coming to your college or university, as a student activist or student organizer, I would be urging the administration saying, look, can we get a one-on-one?
That's right. Seize the opportunity.
Look. Just tell them, be like, look, I'll quell the masses if we can get a one-on-one.
That's right.
Where he sits and have a special conversation with Black student leaders at the university. Or even in that group, because I know down in Atlanta, you got Moorehouse and you got all of those different colleges and like same area.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, can we get a one-on-one to president? Off the books, closed door
cameras.
Now imagine, Farajii, Moorehouse has an opportunity, to your point, because the president will physically be on campus. You have an opportunity to speak to him. So student leaders organize and
30 minutes, Mr. President. All we need is 30 minutes, sir.
You can talk directly to
Go ahead, Kim, talk to me. You got 30 seconds.
That's not going to happen. I was at my daughter's graduation. President Obama was a speaker. They already have things planned out. They're going to bring him in and then take him out. You actually have, there's a whole process that goes.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that, and I understand that, but I'm just saying.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Here's the thing. There is no reason why students cannot express their unhappiness with the current policy and still be in favor of voting for Biden. It doesn't have to be an either or, and that's what I keep hearing. It's as though if we protest that, then we're saying we're for Trump. No, we can still let our voices be heard.
No, I agree.
And make it clear that we're in disagreement with his stand on Palestine and still support him in the election. It's not an either or. We don't have to be silent because we're afraid he's going to lose. We can support him in the election and still let him know we don't like the road you're traveling on.
And guess what? And I know we got to take a pause, but guess what? The other guy ain't going to even give you an ear.
Okay.
He ain't going to listen to an ear. So, I mean, I get it. I definitely get it. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears. Let's talk about speaking out. Let's talk about telling your truth, telling your story. We're talking about the controversial interview that Amanda Seales had with Shannon Sharpe on his podcast. And more importantly, the relationship she says she has with Black media. We talked about this before, but I want to hear what you have to. I want you to hear her words and how she moves and what she's been thinking since that whole situation went down. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. And we've been having a fantastic first half of the show. Man, oh man, talking about these protests on college campuses, USC canceling their graduation, their main stage graduation. And we also just talked a little bit about the situation, the dilemma that Moorehouse is in inviting President Biden to be their commencement speaker. Now, yesterday they did have a call. I want to make sure that we note this. Yesterday, Moorehouse officials did have a call amongst themselves between faculty and other folks, officials at the school, to determine the best course of action. They have not decided as of yet what that course of action will be, whether they will protest the president or not. But that is yet to be determined. But they did have a call. They're talking about it just as much as we're talking about it. And it may set the tone for other HBCUs and for other colleges around the country on how to handle this moment. So much more that would need to be learned from that situation. Now let's switch gears. As we're talking about speaking out, telling your truth. This week, the controversial conversation that actress and comedian Amanda Seales, she sat down with Shannon Sharpe for Club Shay Shay, and just wanted to get some stuff off her chest in the lengthy 3-hour plus interview, more of a conversation she had about a host of things. One of the big things that Amanda has been dealing with is this onslaught from Black media spaces about her and how she moves around the spaces, whether it's in entertainment or in other spaces. I want to share with you what she had to say about this. Take a look.
Airport, and the nigga I was seeing, I had texted him and said, I got to Paris. I can't wait for you to get your passport and travel with me. And he has said, I don't need a passport. I travel in my mind.
Let's do this. Let's do this. I wanna let's go back.
Sorry.
We're gonna go back. Let's start
that
piece from the beginning.
What? Okay.
Let's start the clip from the beginning. And then we'll keep it moving. But I want y'all to hear what Amanda Seales, when Shannon Sharpe asked her about, does she feel like people are always nitpicking or always getting on her about something? Take a listen, folks.
Bottom line, we are the creators. So why would we not make sure that we have access to everything instead of limiting ourselves to consumerism? We can do both.
Yes.
We can do both. And one thing I've had to learn is just like, sometimes I just be talking.
Right.
Now, by the way, the reason I sent that text is because I was sitting in the Paris Charles de Gaulle airport, and the nigga I was seeing, I had texted him and said, I got to Paris. I can't wait for you to get your passport and travel with me. And he has said, I don't need a.
Hold on. This is YouTube, y'all. This is YouTube. It's the last show. It's cool. It's the last show. But Lisa, got to start from the very beginning of that. We got to start from the very beginning, and then we stop it at that point, because that's not the relevant part. But let's talk about this. And joining us for this conversation is now the host of the I Call Her Queen podcast. She's also an entrepreneur. She's an artist, an emerging screenwriter. Nira Muhammad is joining us. Nira, how are you this afternoon?
Hey, Farajii. How are you?
How are you?
The podcast is called Queen Talks with Nira, not I Call Her Queen.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of so many. You got too many brands for me, so I apologize. Queen Talks with Nira. Nira has been an original culture contributor, culture crew member from the very, very beginning. And she is an educator working in a lot of different spaces of education and protesting. But I want to kind of get your take on this on Amanda Seales, and at least just let me know when you got that clip queued up, because Amanda Seales, I think, plays a huge role in the culture, and she is important to have in the culture. Y'all know how I feel. Like, even though we may not agree with somebody, at the end of the day, those differences can make a difference in moving the culture forward. Let's play Amanda Seales from the beginning. We got to start with Shannon asking that question. We're going to get it all together. Stay with us, folks. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, and wanted to have a conversation about actress and comedian Amanda Seales, who went on Club Shay Shay to talk about a variety of things. But the thing that really stuck out for me was her response to those publications that wrote very disparaging pieces about her and her energy and what she brings to the culture. And we briefly had a conversation a little bit about this some time ago, maybe like a couple of weeks ago. But I wanted to share with you what she said and how it made her feel in more detail. So I want us to start this clip from the very beginning, and then we're going to go through it and then get from our wonderful panelists their takes on it. Take a listen.
I mean,
don't it sound like that?
Is that how you feel?
Absolutely. They are always looking for something. Even these hack writers who were probably paid by AIPAC, they wrote articles based on tweets. They wrote articles based on not only my tweets, but on other people's tweets. Like, this random person said Amanda needs to change her energy. Black Enterprise wrote an entire article that said Amanda Seales complains that she's not invited into Black spaces. Mind you, these are all spaces that I have worked in. And the follow-up line was, but the internet, so they anthropomorphized the entire internet. The internet says Amanda needs to change her energy. I do not need to change my energy. I don't. And all of those spaces, aside from Black Girls Rock, have contacted me. I don't need to change my energy. What needs to change is how we look at energy and how we understand energies that aren't necessarily our own.
Right.
So even as we sat here and we have talked, I have had to understand your energy, and you have asked me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it may not be my own, we live in this space together. We live on this earth together. So we have to gain certain abilities to do that. And that requires a lesser ego. That requires curiosity, which I consider to be an indicative of love. It requires humanity. Like, we live in a world that is continuously creating borders to keep people out because we feel like they don't deserve to be here, because they're different, or because they love a different kind of person, or they believe in something different, etc. And I am not that kind of person. I've never been that kind of person. And it is so liberating for me to understand that the reasons that people have been telling me. So you're talking about the nitpicking. It's not just nitpicking. They assign something to what they're nitpicking. Mm-hmm. Amanda has a tone because she's mean. Amanda said this because she thinks she's better than other Black people. Amanda said what she said because she's nasty. None of these things are true. Mm-hmm. But it feels terrible for people to assign things to you that are not true. And you start to think to yourself, if this is what it's like for me to be myself, then maybe I shouldn't be here. And as somebody who has had a full-on nervous breakdown and been suicidal, it is not to be taken lightly when people attack character without legitimate reasons why, credibility, etc. And I was told that one of these publications, it was told to them, this is the type of thing that can drive someone to take their own life. And they said, don't go there. This is not a game. This whole last month has been such a journey of self by fire, right? Like, I was forced to have this journey of self by fire simply because I wanted to be embraced in spaces that I embrace. Like, there's no scandal. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to go to Howard to do an event, and I was told that Howard rescinded my invitation because of these stories. These stories that have no validity to them and that I have not, been a catalyst to, but they are now, they're proving to be deleterious to, like, my advancement. Oh, Amanda Seales, she was attacking Samaria Rice. What? I asked a valid question that ended up being proven, by the way. I asked a valid question. Don't we think that there's something worth questioning, and why this woman whose son was 100% unjustly killed by the police? Don't we think there's something to be said for, like, why are all these media outlets, like, giving her a platform to accuse all of these people that are the leaders of movements for fraud? And, my problem is also that I think that people understand what I'm saying when I say something. And, like, when I wrote my first book, my uncle, who's a judge in Grenada, he was like, make sure you edit that book like a deposition. Because it's on paper and people cannot read your mind.
Yeah, it is. Amanda Seales, then in her own words. All right, let me bring back my fantastic panelists. We got Nira Muhammad, Corinna Denise, Kimberly A. Morrow, as well as Suzette Speaks. Nira, I want to get your take on this. I know we have limited time with you today. What do you make of that? Do you agree or disagree with Amanda on how she's seen and how she's presented to the world, and just the overall idea that we are in a time and in a culture where we don't want people to be different? We encourage people to be the same way. What's your take on that?
I would completely agree with Amanda. I did have a chance to watch a bit more of the interview so I could get a little bit more understanding of who she is, because I'm one of those people who, I will be honest, I've never been like a huge Amanda Seales fan, so I've never really followed her closely. I just always saw all the negative posts about her. Oh, Amanda's difficult. Oh, she's a mean girl. She's hard to work with. And I was just always like, why? Like, what is the validity to all these things that people say about her? And I think for me as a writer and as a woman of color, I can completely empathize with what she's saying. If you don't agree with the masses, or if you question things you're seen as hard to work with or hard to deal with. And she's had, the examples and the stories that she gives us in the episode, this woman is like really outlining situations that have happened to her that'll have all of us in here scratching our head like, well, Black people treated her that way? Black media treated her that way? So, we often go into these spaces hoping that as Black people, Black media will uplift us. And then to find that, well, damn, there's no left me in black media. There's no left me in white media. Well, where the hell do I fit in? Do I have to just shut up and just to get my stories told or to be heard? Do I have to go along for the, get along just to be successful? I mean, to have your invitation to Howard rescinded is insane. To have your invitation to the Emmys Black Party, to get to the door and have them tell you, oh, you're not invited because Vanessa doesn't like you and doesn't want you here. I mean, it's mean girlish, it's nasty. And I think that it just speaks volumes to the industry that she's working in, like hugely. But I have more respect for Amanda after watching that interview than what I did before, because I will admit, I was one of those people who's like, Dad, why is she always so negative? But that's the perception. That's what media has made of her, because that's what they chose to do. You're branded, and then they take it and run with it.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, because like I said, I know you got to hop up, but very quickly, do you think that we have created, and I'm saying we as the consumers of media, people that are on social media, bloggers and all that stuff, like she had 3 articles written about her, very disparaging articles about her from 3 black media spaces. So are we encouraging this as part of our culture, like, oh, this exclusivity, which I truly believe is rooted in the fact that we were made to feel that way as a people by white institutions and white spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. I truly feel like in this industry, in general, if you don't agree with, I think that's kind of America, like the tone of America in general. Everyone wants to talk about how I'm different, I'm an original, but let you go against what the masses are saying, then you're labeled as, they throw all types of labels on you, whether it's, you're trans, homophobic, or if you say, I'm rooting for Palestine, and it's like, oh, you're anti-Semitic. And it's like, well, that's a bit far. We are very, very quick to cancel people, and we are very, very quick to make judgments based off of very, very little information. There's not a plethora of critical thinkers. There's not a plethora of people that like to question what's being said or what they're being told. We like to, if everyone else is saying it, then it must be true. It's like, oh, Google said it must be true. Right. I found it on TikTok. That's my students always say, well, I saw it on TikTok. That's kind of like the generation that we live in. We want quick news, and we don't want to do the work to really find out if it's valid.
That's absolutely true. We got to take a quick pause, but Nira, I thank you for posting your, sharing your thoughts on this. Make sure y'all check her out. She got a dope podcast, Queen Talks with Nira Muhammad. The podcast, make sure to stream it on all podcast locations and everywhere. But you are absolutely right, and I appreciate you for making your presence known on this final day of the culture. You've been with me, of course, throughout this whole process and been sharing a lot. But thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for coming on. All right?
Absolutely. I can't believe it's your last episode. That's crazy.
I know.
I was here for day 1, and it's like, oh my God, this is the last. This is the last one. It's crazy. I'm happy for you though. I'm one of those people. I'm sorry, guys. I know the full truth, so I'm very excited for you, and I'm sorry to everyone that's gonna miss you on the airwaves, but I'm excited for this next chapter for you, and you're so dope, and the show has been great, and I'm just really proud of you for taking this platform and using it to your best advantage, and I'm excited for what you have to come, and I just can't wait. I'm so excited for you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Nira Muhammad, host of the Queen Talks with Nira of the podcast. Make sure y'all check her out on all where podcasts are streaming. All right, folks, look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's get some more thoughts about Amanda Seales. We're going to be checking in with Corinna Denise, Suzette Speaks, and with Kimberly Morrow, and, of course, with you. Do you agree or disagree with Amanda? We'll share your thoughts as well. Stay with us. It's the culture, here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues.
Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere.
It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. We're talking about Amanda Seales and how she shared her thoughts on being ostracized by black media. Played a little clip of what she had to say, and I want to bring back our panelists. We heard from our great culture contributor, Nira Muhammad, host of Queen Talk with Nira and the podcast, so make sure y'all check that out. But we're now joined again by our sisters, Suzette Speaks, Kimberly Morrow, as well as Corinna Denise. And Suzette, I want to start with you on this one as we look at how this thing is playing out. And I think Amanda is on to something, right? Like, we have to be very careful, and I'm saying we as black folks in media that have some sense of power and influence and everything, that we don't do the same thing that I often see happen by us or to us by white media, is create this space of exclusivity, where we are the ones, the gatekeepers. And, we like, oh, well, you don't meet the criteria, you don't meet the metric. And I can say that in my career in media and in space, it's like, I've experienced a little bit of that. People, oh, you're such a nice guy. But sometimes your ideas are so controversial, it doesn't fit with the norm of things that people kind of like, they say hi from a distance, you know what I'm saying? They treat you like, oh, it's Farajii, hey. They really don't, or as they say in the streets, they don't F with you like that.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
there's
you're
so
not
many
in the mainstream. So talk to me, Suzette. What do you say to that?
I've been watching the saga, and the saga continues. We actually, when it was a Wednesday, a wonderful Wednesday, when we talked about this the first time, and now there is a fourth article. Baller Alert has joined this menagerie of publications, black centric publications that are now, coming for her. And so I've been watching her responses on Instagram. Her following has grown 2.2 million now. Talk about being relevant to the culture on Instagram alone. Not to mention her Patreon and what happened with her recently was that the Essence, allegedly the Essence magazine editor had agreed to do a sit down with her at her home. Amanda had invited her to come do a one-on-one in 3 hours. According to Amanda, allegedly on Instagram, she announced that 3 hours before the sit down, the interview was canceled. So it was, she called them messence instead of essence, and all of this that's carrying on. And the comment section on her Instagram page is lit. I'm sure same on X and all these other platforms. So what do we have here? So I didn't fully watch all of her interview. Let me preface this on Club Shay Shay. I'm still getting through it. It's rather long.
It is long. Yep.
I do think just of some takeaways initially and from clips, and I don't like to not have full context. So this is without watching the full interview in full disclosure, but there seems to be some kind of, I'm going to say the cool kids, as you're describing them, the people who are in, don't necessarily like someone who presents as Amanda does with this strong persona. Some may even call it hubris. She did a whole piece on her Instagram about hubris and this word of being unapologetic and, always being left out because of that reason, being the outspoken one. And I do think in Black spaces in our communities, we have to be comfortable with people that present in different ways and maybe have different roles to play in moving the culture forward. I do think part of me, as I was just sitting here for the first time, I haven't fully analyzed this yet. I was thinking, does colorism have any smidgen of a play with kind of way we have seen media come from? Now, I know she has a lot to say now. I'm not negating what she has said and the stance that she has taken and what she, presents to the world. And the Baller Alert article talks about her non-doctor based diagnosis, what she talked about on Club Shay Shay, being autistic and questioning whether she should be, calling herself autistic or is it valid, et cetera, et cetera. But there's something to be said about how quickly, even within our own community, we come to kind of add fuel to the fire when someone is already burning, right? When it feels like, again, this person is not among the cool kids. She needs to be put in her place. She doesn't represent what we want in Black women, whether some may, give her that title of like a caricature of a sapphire, right? That outspoken, crack the whip, no nonsense, bad attitude Black woman who needs to be shut down or put in her place. I think she's far more complex, and you got to look at her body of work and really, I want to finish watching this interview before I give it kind of, a full analysis. But I do think there's a lot of spaces that don't have enough room for alternative type of Black people. Like if they don't fit in one mold, they get very uncomfortable. And again, she probably has pissed a bunch of people off. Like that I don't want to negate at all, because of her, maybe brashness, or someone characterizes brashness, and how she delivers things, not, what you say, how you say it kind of thing. But if it was coming from a man, there, I can hear the audience saying, why does she have to be apologetic and quiet and demure in, how she presents points, etc. If this was a white male doing the same thing, he would be lauded, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I feel like I'm watching a very thoughtful person on Club Shay Shay. I'm not sure Shannon Sharpe is keeping up all the way. I think he does a good job, but again, I have to finish watching and provide further analysis there. But there is a lot of complexity, but this is the fourth.
It is some complexity.
What she just pointed out in that clip, that it can impact the person far more deeply than we think. It's not just funny kiki and haha. This is a real human being behind all these headlines.
And you know what? I'm so glad that you brought that up, Suzette, because Kim, when I saw this, I was just thinking to myself, like, at the end of the day, if Black folks can't accept Black folks, right? Like, one of the things that I'm pretty sure about, and if somebody else will tell me if y'all think I'm wrong with this, I feel like Amanda Seales is truly for the culture, for people, for Black folks, right? She has shown up in spaces, she stood with people and all of that, whatever she can do to offer that, right? And it just still seems like him that is not enough, right? Like we really do have this gatekeeper mentality, and not just in media, just across the board. Like we have people that says, oh, take your time. Oh, don't say this, don't say that, and all of these things, right? And it's like, bruh, it's one thing you can put out in those spaces because white people in, but when you start to see Black people writing articles, going in on another Black person that at the end of the day has tried their best to stand for what's right and to do what's right for the people and about a culture, I don't like that. I don't give a damn about none of these places. Like, and it's unfortunate because she hasn't had graced the airways with us here on Black Star Network. But I don't like that, Kim. I don't like that because that's triggering.
Real quick,
that's exactly what white people and white institutions have done.
Coretta, let me, before, please, because this is like burning on me. First of all, I love Amanda Seales. I watch her. I binge watched all her interviews. I love that she's unapologetically Black. And she's a big gangster with it too. And I think that is part of the problem, because when you listen to her speak, you heard her when she was talking, she uses the N-word, no problem. And I think a lot of that people, feel some type of way about what she does. So I think it's ridiculous that Black media is coming for her. And the thing about it is I don't want to say but that is true. We have to be the gatekeepers. Well, she doesn't speak this way, she's pretty gangster with it. She really is. And I don't think that that's coming off for certain media circles that's, okay.
But you know what, Kim, isn't that the point of this though? Like this is our culture. At the end of the day, this is our culture, right? This is an expression of us. And guess what? In the Black community, in Black households and Black neighborhoods, you got people like an Amanda.
You do. And that's the part that is that's the frustrating part. But I think, look, if you look at her, and one of your guests kind of said it, I wonder if it's some colorism going on. If you look at Amanda, she doesn't present, she's quote unquote light skin, pretty hair, very, very beautiful woman. But then she starts talking. And she has that little gangsterness about her, for lack of a better word. She's pretty hardcore. And so I think when people look at her, they feel that she should present a different way. And she's just not like that. And I think that they want her to be a different way, but she's not. And that is what I appreciate, because I grew up with so many women like her in LA. Yeah. So many like her. And it's just sad that she is being drugged, through the ringer like this, which is one of the reasons why I never read the comments, because I don't want to get triggered, and I don't want to get, thrown into a depression or an anxiety over what people say when I'm making certain comments that I make. So I completely related to her when she said that.
Absolutely. Corinna, I want to give you a chance to jump in very quickly before we take
our Corinna.
Oh, no, sorry. And I wasn't trying to disrupt. I just wanted to just let everyone know, like, Amanda has been on Black Star on Roland.
Yes.
So she
thank you for that.
These airways. But I just want to say real quick, because I know we got to go to break, but I do agree with Amanda Seales. And, in all transparency, I see a lot of me in her, where my passion is framed as me being angry, or that I am brave enough to stand up for myself, then I'm defensive. And I just also want to really quickly highlight with Shannon Sharpe, and preface, I am only about an hour and a half in, because it is a pretty lengthy interview, but up until the point that I've watched so far, I just want to point out how Black women have to endure, some of these pushback, especially when it comes to men. There was a point where Amanda basically walked Shannon through, some of her childhood experiences and traveling with her aunt. And she framed it as, I got to do some of these white activities because her aunt was married to a white man. And he circles back and he goes, okay, so your mother is white. And immediately, I wanted to jump through the TV screen with Amanda, where she's like, my mother is not white. Why do people keep saying that? He pushes back further. Oh, well, but she married a white man. Oh, but she's from the West Indies. And I'm just raising the point to what Amanda is also saying, how you're just taking these things that you're hearing and putting them together and putting out a story. So, I would hope that Shannon and whoever is on his team is doing their research, because I think those very basic things about your guest, you should know that Amanda's mom is Black and she's from Grenada. Okay, her dad's Black American, but she didn't grow up with her dad in her life. It's just those little things. And, I found it to be really offensive, if I'm honest here, that even after she said my mom is not white, that he even continued to push back, but she's from the West Indies. Oh,
yeah, I didn't understand that moment.
And so I just want to raise that to a point. Yeah. But I totally feel Amanda. And I think, to what Nara said earlier, we kind of just look at the surface and we don't raise the questions, why is this happening? Why are people saying this? But I really do truly believe she is for our people. I think she's incredibly intelligent and often misunderstood. And I resonate with it personally, y'all. I'm going to be transparent, because I know I'm often misunderstood, and I have been in places and have had similar experiences.
That's why
I really relate to that.
And guess what? We got to take a quick pause, but that's why when I look at Amanda Seales, I see a lot of Black women. I see Black women who don't feel seen. I see Black women who don't feel heard. I see Black women who are coming out of these different spaces with a different level of consciousness. My concern is, if we as Black folks in this country, if we continue to impose the same type of restrictions that white America has always imposed on us, or we continue to try to force Black people, if one of us, quote unquote, makes it, now we gotta create, we don't pass the torch or pass on. No. You gotta make it too. And then once you get to the top, then I can befriend you. I can bring you into my circle, but you gotta show me that you are qualified to be in the same spaces as me. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. I've seen it time and time again. People don't know you until you rise up, and then they want to be all in your face. And it's like, bruh, you ain't got no friends there. You don't have no friends there unless they came up with you. And I understand why Kevin Hart or LeBron James or anybody, I understand that when they come into the industry, they came with the same group of people that they were with the whole time, because people act real fake. And I'm talking about, we know what to expect from white America. We know what to expect from white people in predominantly white spaces. But it's a hell of a thing to expect that same type of attitude. Black folks, sometimes we take stuff too far. You be like, God dang, bro. Like, geez, give each other a break.
Right.
Just my personal view. I see it time and time again. Look, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's get some final remarks, and I'm going to share some comments that you have to say on this crew. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been chatting about Amanda Seales, and more importantly, not about hers personally, but to the ideas that she has brought forth as she talks about her struggles and relationship with Black media, and making the point that she still feels ostracized, she still feels left out, and guess what? By Black folks in Black media, in Black spaces. Let me go to what y'all have to say. As my sisters, I'm joined by Suzette Speaks, Corinna Denise, and Kimberly Morrow. Let me see here. Let me see what the crew is talking about, ladies, because folks are talking. Janelle Phil said, Shannon has a platform, but he is not a trained journalist. He gets views, but has been given way too much credibility as a professional. We must educate ourselves about media literacy. This is going to your point right there, Corinna, that he needs to do it. And look, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I think when I look at Shannon, I like watching the show, but I think he is just as blown away about how popular he has become, just as much as we are. I think he's just like, what the hell is happening?
Right place, right time. Put in the work. Right place, right time. Put in the work.
He put in the work because the show's been on for like 3 years.
Yeah. And people want to talk, and now that's the space to go, apparently. Like, so.
Yeah, and I mean, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? And that's certainly fine. But I just saying that in terms of his ability to have those conversations and talk, let me just tell y'all, man, having those one-on-one conversations, sometimes your guests will bring up stuff that your research team didn't even know about. And they can say things sometimes, and just as a host, you listen and you like, damn, that kind of seems strange. But who are you to jump in and be like, did this really happen? Or is that the truth? Look at what Cat Williams had to say. What will you say? Cat, did you really read 3,000 books, Cat? Cat. So it's a little bit. I get that. Let's go back here. CD, you said, I see Black men that don't want to protect our sisters, even from ourselves. We brothers should be overprotective of our sisters. Any ladies, y'all want to speak on that?
Oh, Cindy, something just came.
I guess it's you, Corinna. You got the floor.
Thank you. And I'm sorry to just jump in here, but I just got to get off my chest if y'all will allow me to. But to your point of protecting Black women, I found it very interesting that when Amanda again was kind of sharing things from her childhood. You know, Amanda has been in this business since she was 8 years old. Like I remember watching her on My Brother and Me, any 80s babies. Y'all probably grew up on Nickelodeon in the 90s like I did. So yeah. So you know, there were different things she was involved in. She did some stuff with Disney, and she's telling Shannon that, you know, there was a parent teacher conference that Disney was having. Immediately Shannon goes, "What did you do?" You know, and Amanda's like, no, you know, this was just a routine thing that, you know, we're kids on set and they need to meet with our parents. But there were just moments in there, Farajii, where it was kind of like, well, what did you do? What did you do to have to be put out of the conservatory? What did you do that, you know, your mom had to be called into the office? And there was very subtle and sometimes even blatant, in my view, from Shannon. And I don't think he was necessarily trying to be malicious or intentional with it, but I think it's just a point now to raise some mindfulness, some consciousness of how we minimize a person's experience, right? There are moments
a black woman's experience.
A black woman's
not just a person, a black
That's
woman's
right.
experience.
Yes, you are absolutely right, sis. A black woman's experience where, you know, she's talking about experiencing racism in a classroom, right? In grade school. And Shannon's pushing back. Well, you know, kids are kids, you know, so it was things like that. And I can't imagine that a man would receive that type of pushback, or even a black man. But I've just noticed with black women, it's just always quick to point the finger. Well, what did you do, right? Like, how did you end up in this situation before she could even further, you know, share her story or share her experience? So I think this just raises some things with mindfulness. So in addition to all the things that Amanda shared in that interview, and I look forward to completing it sometime this weekend, you know, I think it gives us a chance to examine like just the interactions in the interview when she's sharing her experience, how you're getting pushback. You weren't there. Like she's sharing her story. Allow her to have that time to speak. And you can see where the conversation
just like you did Cat Williams, just like you did Cat. Allow her to say space. Cat took over the interview and told story after story, and you sat there and listened, but you questioned and tried to invalidate. From what I saw so far, a lot of what Amanda shared. Just saying.
Hey, let me ask that, and Suzette, I want to kind of get your take on that because Shauna Marsh checked in. Shauna's always good to connect with you. She said respectability politics rules the day. Suzette, how much of that do you agree with that? That this is a form of respectability politics when they're asking Amanda or any black woman to kind of tone it down a little bit, you know, just kind of chill out a little. And I'm sure you probably got some of that. I
don't know if I'm a victim or beneficiary of that, but yeah, it's real. It's real. There are black people that don't want every type of black person in every space, especially one that are too loud, too brash, too outspoken, you know, don't fit the passive mold that has allowed for, you know, some of our ancestors to pass through certain doors and get into the certain corporate C-suites, et cetera, by going along to get along. When you are a disruptor like Amanda, you run the risk of not only pissing off white people, but pissing off a lot of black people. That's what I think a lot of people won't say. I guess in her comments, I've seen people talk about that, but respectability being of a certain, you know, level of, I don't know, professionalism is quite the word, but carrying yourself in a certain way that you are a pride and joy for the entire black community, because you know you're walking into a room representing all of us and you have the whole community on your shoulders every time you open up, because we don't have open up your mouth because we don't have enough representation. Therefore, we need you to sound a certain way. We need you to look a certain way, act a certain way, be this role model of the type of black woman we want out there. She represents a specific type of woman. And I do think that's a real black person. For many of us, we know them. They're in our families. As I think Kim said, we can identify at times in our lives with her presentation of, you know, information, of her passion, of the way she carries herself and how unapologetic she is. Many of us wish we could be that way, but there is I don't want to leave some time for Farajii because I know we ended the show, but there is a backlash.
It's all good. I'm hearing you. Hey, Kim, what's your take on that? Because Olivia checked in and said, I think it's wonderful that we support our sisters, but at the same time, we should recognize that she needs help. What's your take on that, Kim?
She needs help. I'm not really sure what she means by that. She needs mental help. She needs support.
Maybe I don't know. If that's maybe is it therapy? Are you seeing a black woman in Amanda Seals? Are you seeing a black woman who is quote unquote off? Or are we seeing a black woman who is just getting frustrated and tired of the BS in politics?
Well, I think she's just getting tired of the BS in politics. I think she gets, I follow her, so I know she gets therapy because I do follow. So I do know that. So I don't know what she means by she needs help.
Don't just watch the clips. Follow her.
Exactly.
Don't just do the highlight reel. The highlight reel will have you thinking she's crazy. You got to watch the full about her.
Exactly. And because a person is speaking their truth and they're being emphatic about it, they're being unapologetic about it, I don't think that means that she's crazy or anything. I just think she's real. She is, like I said before, Amanda Seales is gangster, okay? That's what it is.
That's all it comes down to.
Handle that in a woman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know what? Whether we like her, you don't like her, whether you agree with her or don't agree with her, the reality is she's necessary. She's needed. I don't think that we should get into the space of trying to dictate who should be a part of the culture and who should not be, and who. Look, man, let's accept people for who they are. Now, if you're questioning, this is what I always think about when I see this type of situation come up with black folks. It's like, oh, so if you are that type of person that say, oh, this person is good for the culture, this person is not good for the culture, that must mean that something is going on in your mind, your heart, your spirit, where you don't love yourself enough to accept your people as they come. And it is
Farajii,
crazy.
you got to sign off. We got 5 minutes.
I'm going to sign off. Trust me. I'm going to take all the time I need. Let me start.
The internet want me to be great. I don't want to miss the last word.
No, but look, I'm just saying, I don't want none of us, if nothing else from this show, we all have something to add to the culture. We're not going to be on the same page. We're not going to always agree, but we all have something valuable to add to this culture because we are the culture. That's it. We are the culture. And if we start to be overly critical, if we start to put people in boxes, and I'm saying black folks, if we start to say you are qualified, you belong and don't belong, that's when our progress, our struggle for liberation, freedom, justice, and equality goes right in the trash can. Because we're going to start to have, it's a white-mindedness that's going to kill us. It's that type of exclusivity that's going to kill us. We all a part of the culture. Look, can I take a final pause? When we come back, I'm going to share with you my final thoughts. And thank you. Stay with me. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture. Let's bring our sisters back in. I cannot thank y'all enough, man. I hate this. This is hard for me, but it's necessary. This is a bittersweet moment. Look, let me just say, when we started this show, it was a show where I wanted something different. It was Brother Roland who actually sent me a text. We were talking through text, and he said, I want to give you a show. Had no idea. I did not ask for it. He reached out to me. And so from the beginning, we said that when we talked about what the show would be, he said, your show is going to air before my show, so I need a good, strong lead-in. And when we started talking, him and we started chatting a little bit about it. And then I started to really think, what is the show that I really wanted to have to talk to Black America? And so once we got two of our great executives, Shannon and Joel, they were brought on to help us to kind of really materialize and bring some order to all of the thoughts I had. They said, you know, we all decided, look, let's have a round table. Let's have a conversation. Most people tend to believe that when you have a show with your name on it, it's all about you. No, it's about us. And I wanted to have a show that was reflective of us in all of our different schools of thought from all the different places and spaces. And I wanted to have a show that was that's going to cause us to think. So this show here, this show that you saw today, this show we've been having over the past week, these shows, this is exactly the show that I've always wanted to host and produce. This show right here. This is the show. And I wanted to host and produce a show that will cause people to think, but this is not just about what we put out, it's about what we bring in. This has been a transformative experience for me too, because it has sharpened my skills, and more importantly, it has clarified my particular view in politics of the world. And when I'm talking to everyone else, folks, I'm listening. Some of you, sometimes you might go to the show and be like, look like I'm deep in thought, listening to what people are saying, because I'm letting it water my spirit, my soul. And I wanted to have a show like this. So for me, success is not determined by numbers and metrics. And I know that's a part of the business of media. You got to make sure the views are up. You got to make sure, and I understand that. But I said, you know what? If we're talking to Black America, I wanted a show that was dedicated to making an impact. That's the big thing. Where's a show that Black folks can be seen, that we can be heard, that our story is going to be told in a very different way, that our new ideas are going to be expressed in a very different way. That's what this show was all about from the very beginning. So this has been a very emotional week for me. It's a little bittersweet. I'm very excited about my next chapter. I will be sharing that over the weekend, what the next steps are as we move forward. But I am saddened by the fact that I won't be able to be in the conversation with so many of you on a regular basis, because unlike any other show, I don't know if y'all noticed, this show has manifested from being just a show to being a community. Yes. And the Culture Crew, y'all, and I got it on here on the board, thanks Culture Crew, y'all have made this thing a community. So I just want to thank Big Brother Roland Martin. He has not one time, I'm going to say this on camera, not one time has he sent a text, called me, or sent me an email trying to dictate the agenda of this show. Everything that you have heard is coming from us. And he has given me the full creative space. He's never said, man, you went too far on that. He has given me the full creative space to say what we need to say. So I just want to thank him. I want to thank Black Star Network. I want to thank all of you. I mean, look, I'm on a panel with some dynamic Black women. We had Nira on earlier. I'm good. I don't need guest drop-ins. I don't need anybody special. This is where I wanted to, this is how I wanted to end the show. And I cannot thank y'all enough for providing your insight, your analysis. Y'all are, I mean, y'all dope as AF. Let me just say that. Y'all are really dope. So I want to thank y'all. And I cannot thank my team. I have a brother in Keenan like no other. That man has held me down and has been there with me for day one. So I want to thank Keenan. I want to thank Lisa, who has been with me. We have two dynamic young producers, young tech folks joining us, Chris and Maddie. They are graduating in next month, and they're going to have fantastic careers.
Yay, Maddie.
And they are fantastic. So I want to thank them. But last but not least, I cannot thank anyone else more than those who have allowed me, not just through their ears, but in their hearts, in the great, oh my gosh, y'all are the greatest Culture Crew. I'm telling you, there is no other community on the network, in the network space, like the Culture Crew. Y'all have made this show.
Thank you, guys.
And I cannot thank you enough. So on behalf of me and my family, and just in general, just the work that we do here, the team here. I thank y'all enough. I thank y'all for embracing us. I thank you for riding with us. Y'all have been with us throughout the whole time, going through all of these different changes, tech changes, travel changes, and all of these things. But we are still one group. And this is the important part. At the end of the day, we are still a part of a great liberation struggle. We are still moving forward. And I only hope and pray that this show served as a love offering to Black folks, to Black America, and to our culture, because we got so much to cover, so much. And so this is just a pause on this platform, but the work will continue. Trust and believe I will be continuing the work and making sure that our voices and our stories are told. So I just want to say thank y'all.
Thank you, Farajii, for being so good for the culture. We love you. Thank you for allowing us to be on this platform. You're amazing. Can't wait to see the next move, bro. Let's go.
Right?
Love
And
you.
I'm just saying goodbye and see you later. Now, don't let me have to mail you a friendship contract.
Answer my phone call.
I expect when I come to Cali. Okay. All right.
Okay, look, real talk. I know we got to wrap up. In real talk, y'all going with me in the next chapter, man. I gotta find a place for y'all. Big shout out to all of the publicists. Olivia is my girl. Y'all know Olivia, but Olivia she knows you. Olivia, AJ, like all of these folks who have been riding with me, making sure that we connect me with guests. Olivia Almagro, thank you so much. She joined us in the chat. Man, they've been riding with me. All of our contributors, they have been riding with me. Tasha Love, all of our new contributors. We got Trinette Collier and Kim, you joined. I mean, y'all are perfect, man. Perfect. So thank you.
Sinead,
my last
everybody.
We love
you,
Farajii. Y'all too. All right, folks. That's it. We got to get off before they cut us off. Hey, look, Black America, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Make sure y'all follow me on my social media at The Real Farajii on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm gonna put a big message out there this weekend, God willing, and to talk about my next chapter and the next steps and all of the good things. But make sure y'all could do one thing for sure. Regardless of whether, since I'm not here or all of it, look, don't stop supporting Black Star Network. Go to our website today, download the app for free, give some money, because Black Star Network is a needed platform for Black folks to have these conversations. Whether you agree or disagree, let's not become personality worshipers. Let's still support the institutions that have created a space for us to talk about these things. And Black Star Network is definitely one of those institutions. So by all means, let's continue to support Black Star Network in money and in time, and make sure y'all share and everything else to support this network. That's going to do it for me. 6 p.m. RMU's coming at you. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right, while being yourself in the process. Thank you, crew. Thank you, everyone. And God willing, we'll cross paths very soon and for another conversation. It's been The Culture, right here, only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. Peace.